What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Lakers Outsiders Weekly Podcast, brought to you by UCast Studios. I am your host, Gary Kester, here with you as always. And today I will be talking about what's been going on lately with the Lakers. And most recently, I'm recording this on Sunday evening. The Lakers win streak finally came to an end. They lose to the Dallas Mavericks today. I'm going to talk mostly about that. I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I apologize. I wanted to get another podcast recorded after the Anthony Davis's return to New Orleans, which I'll talk about that and the Wizards game very briefly before I talk about the Mavericks game. I wanted to get a pod recorded about AD's return to New Orleans, but came down with a pretty nasty stomach virus, bug, whatever it was, right around Thanksgiving, or right before Thanksgiving, I should say. And it wasn't great. So I apologize for that, but I'm going to talk about that game a little bit before I get to the loss to the Mavericks today and my thoughts on that. So, but before I get started, as always, guys, be sure to like this video and subscribe to UCast Studios on YouTube. Lakers Outsiders as well on YouTube and all the major podcast platforms. And as always, you can find Lakers Outsiders content up on LakersOutsiders.com. Everything will be up there. And you can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, just at Lakers Outsiders. You can also follow me on Twitter at Gary Kester. So, with that out of the way, let's jump on in. I'm going to recap the last three games. I don't think I talked about the Spurs game. But the Lakers beat the Spurs again, and if I did talk about it, I apologize. If I didn't, it was great. It's always great to beat the Spurs. But yeah, let's talk first about AD's return to New Orleans. Frustrating game for the most part. You kind of figured both sides were going to be a little amped for it. Probably New Orleans more so. Their crowd was very electric. It was it kind of felt probably like a playoff game for them. That was kind of the game they had circled. Anthony Davis's first game against the New Orleans Pelicans. And the Pelicans really dominated this game right from the start. I mean, they got red hot from three. I think they were 9 of 11 from three in the first quarter, and they built a 13-point lead after one. They were up 38-25. And then the Lakers, really they were down pretty big most of the way. I mean, stayed probably around 10 to 12 points, I think, most of the way until Lakers started to make a run late in the third, and then really put their foot on the gas early in the fourth quarter and really got back into it and made some clutch plays down the stretch. Teams kind of went back and forth, and Anthony Davis had a monstrous steal with the Lakers up by 2 at that point, and he hit the 2 free throws with, I think, 4 seconds left to put that game away. Had to feel good for him coming back to New Orleans, his old stomping grounds, and providing the heroics and getting the win. He was great in this game. He was 15 of 30, so he took 30 shots, but he had 41 points, 9 boards, 3 steals, and a block. It felt a little forced. I think the Lakers definitely got caught up in the moment a little bit and tried to feed Anthony Davis and just kind of clear out and get out of his way, which, some of those matchups, I think you can do that. But New Orleans was very thin up front. I mean, they don't have a lot of big guys that they can really throw at Anthony Davis, but I still am not a fan of when they just throw it in the post to Anthony Davis and then just clear out. I think he's still better suited kind of playing off of movement, playing, off of creators, off of playmakers like LeBron, and, people setting him up for more looks. He can certainly go get his own shot, but it's just not efficient offense to just dump it to him in the post and then just everybody run away, basically, and say, just go one-on-one. I think Davis, is more comfortable probably catching the ball on the move a little bit, going towards the basket, or catching it and shooting jumpers off the catch more so than, stepping back or fading away or whatever it is. Don't get me wrong, he had a great game, but it was a little frustrating that the Lakers offense basically was just dump it to Davis and then everybody get out of the way. You still got to execute, you still got to move the ball, still got to have guys moving and get good shots. And ironically enough, they really started their run early in the fourth quarter with LeBron out there, and I think Davis was on the bench at that point because right at the end of the third quarter, he hit his arm. Josh Hart came crashing in for an offensive rebound and hit Davis's his arm, and it looked like it kind of whipped around a little bit. And he was really in pain there and holding his elbow, but it seems to be fine now. There hasn't really been many looks like lasting effect from that, so that's good. Just kind of dinged up a little bit. LeBron was really good in this game as well. 29 points, 11 assists, and 5 rebounds. Had a couple of steals, and like I said, he really kind of led the charge there in the fourth quarter and made some really, really big plays for the Lakers. He was great as always. But really the guy I wanted to highlight for this game, obviously AD and LeBron are going to get a lot of the shine whenever the Lakers win or whenever they play well. Because naturally, I mean, they're just so gifted. They're just gifted individually and then as a duo. They're very, very gifted. So Lakers got, big contributions from those guys. But the guy that really started the comeback, the Lakers just kind of looked dead in the rights near the end of the third. And Kyle Kuzma hit a couple of big buckets late in the third to really start that run. And it kind of got them back within a manageable distance going into the fourth quarter. And then he hit some big shots as well. He hit two big threes in the fourth quarter. One was down in the corner and put the Lakers back in front when teams were kind of going back and forth. Kuzma in the game had 16 points, was 4 for 4 from 3 and 6 of 8 from the field. Like, that's the Kyle Kuzma that the Lakers need. They need him to hit shots when they're presented to him, and he in this game he definitely did. He was really good in the game's big moments, and that's what the Lakers need from him. He's just got to become a little more consistent, and I'm hopeful that he will. But right now, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride. This game was definitely one of the ups, so that was really, really nice to see. And how about Alex Caruso? I'm not a huge fan of single game plus minus. I think sometimes it can be a little skewed, but to me, when you look at kind of go down the lineup here. Single game plus minus for the Pelicans game. Anthony Davis was a -6, LeBron +3, JaVale -6, Danny Green -8, KCP -11, Kyle Kuzma +8, Dwight Howard +9, Rondo was even, Troy Daniels +8, Alex Caruso was +23 in 25 minutes. And you could tell, man, like this guy, I know I talk about him a lot, but his defense is just so good. It really, really is. He just brings it defensively, and he just helps the team out so much on that end, and I think it really feeds into their offense, even though he doesn't typically benefit a whole lot from it. He only had 2 points and 2 assists, a steal and a block, but, man, he just plays rock-solid defense. He only took the one shot attempt that he made, but just gives great effort, great intensity, his hustle, his defense. I love Caruso, man. He's just such a great role player for this team, and I think the Lakers are very lucky to have him, and his defense is just phenomenal. For fans that don't – I know there are Laker fans that think he's, like, overhyped or whatever, and he's definitely not – I mean, he's definitely a very flawed player offensively, but, man, his defense is really, really good, and it's time that everybody kind of takes notice because his defense – definitely made an impact in this game too. I thought he had some really good possessions against Drew Holiday, who was just lighting up the Lakers and really kind of faltered a little bit down the stretch. He looked unstoppable, and then the Lakers did a pretty nice job kind of slowing him down when it mattered. So that was very important. So Lakers, flipped the switch when they needed to. It's been kind of a characteristic of this team, and they beat another bad team. They're undefeated this year against teams under 500, so it's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. But the December schedule is going to get real tough real quick, so I'll talk about that here in a second. Let's move on to the Wizards game. Not going to really comment a whole lot on this one. I mean, the Lakers, again, started out slow, like they seem to do a lot. And then they flipped the switch, and that was that. This game especially, I mean, Lakers win 125-103. This got them to 17-2 on the year. They were down 15-4, which I thought it was, I was a little worried about this game because it was a trap. I thought it was a trap game because the Wizards can score a lot of points. They're one of the better offensive teams in the league. They don't play any defense. But I was like, they can score. And the Lakers, it was the day after Thanksgiving, first game back from a 4-game road trip. And those are usually teams kind of come out sluggish in that first game back, and not to mention that it was the day after Thanksgiving. So I was a little concerned about it. But the Lakers did start slow. They're down 15-4, but at the end of one, they were up 37-23. So they really just turned it on. They continued to pour it on, and they were up big. And probably the most important thing, not besides just winning the game, is the fact that Anthony Davis only played 27 minutes and LeBron played 25 minutes. So nobody really had to play a ton of minutes in that game, and they were able to get a win. So hopefully there's more games like that where the Lakers can kind of do some of that load management without having to just flat out rest guys and have them miss games. So that was good to see. And let's get to the game that happened today by the time I'm recording this. The Lakers win streak ends at 10, and they fall to 17-3 on the year, losing to the Dallas Mavericks. The second time they played the Mavericks this year, if you guys remember, when they played them in Dallas, Danny Green hit the big three at the end of regulation at the buzzer to force overtime, and then the Lakers kind of took over in overtime and got the win there. In this game, the Lakers started out actually pretty strong. They were up 10 at one point in the first quarter, or I think a couple points in the first quarter. And second quarter started, and the Lakers defense just really kind of flew out the window. The Mavericks scored 69 points, which is not nice, in the second and third quarter combined. And fourth quarter, they only scored 20 points, but the Lakers only scored 21. So the offense really struggled in the second half. The Mavericks won the game overall 114-100. But the Lakers are up 5 after 1. They were actually up 3 going into the half at 62-59. And then it just all fell apart. It all fell apart after that. Luka Doncic started to get hot. He started to hit some shots. He still only finished 10 of 23 overall. I think you could probably take that against him. But the Lakers just got a little too caught up, especially in the third quarter, with the officiating. And don't get me wrong, the officiating sucked in this game. It was incredibly inconsistent, and it was very frustrating as a Laker fan to watch because it seemed like any kind of bump that the Mavericks got on offense was called a foul. And whenever the Lakers would get bumped, there was no foul call. And it really spilled over into the third quarter, and the Lakers got very frustrated and seemed like they were more focused on getting calls from the refs than actually executing on offense. And they just got frustrated from it. A couple technical fouls. Frank Vogel picked up one. KCP picked up one. And yeah, they were frustrated. I was frustrated, and it just unraveled. The Mavs started to really hit threes at a high volume, and the Lakers couldn't. The Lakers had third quarter, I didn't think they executed their offense very well. They didn't really attack, and there wasn't, even the ball movement that they had, it just seemed like they were kind of going through the motions. They were really frustrated, and they just didn't play well. They just didn't play well in that third quarter, and it really put them behind, put them in a hole that they couldn't dig out of. They were outscored 35-17 in that third quarter, and I remember they only had like 6 points, I think, through the first 8 minutes or so of that quarter. They just could not make anything. And the story of the game, to me, there were really two stats. The rebounding advantage was to Dallas, 51-45. I feel like the Lakers made that look closer than it was. It felt like the Lakers just gave up, and they did actually. Looks like they gave up 16 offensive rebounds. Just that can't happen. You can't give a team that many second chance opportunities. The Mavericks ended up shooting worse than the Lakers. They actually shot 43% to the Lakers 46%. Big difference in that, though, was the Mavericks hit 17 of 49 from three. They had 17 threes to the Lakers 7. The Lakers were 7 of 27. But the Mavericks also had 10 more shot attempts. They had 97 shot attempts. The Lakers 87. Had a couple more free throws. So the free throws were pretty even, although I think that kind of leveled out in the fourth quarter when the game was out of reach. But that third quarter was incredibly frustrating because one team executed their offense, and it felt like the Mavs just couldn't miss from three. after they started slow from the 3-point line, and then second and third quarter just seemed like every three that they shot went in. And you got to tip your cap to them. I mean, they're a good team. They're a good basketball team. They were able to, kind of stay focused on the game while the Lakers were upset with the officiating, and it really showed. It really showed, and the Lakers just stopped executing offensively, and the Mavericks didn't. So that's really what it boiled down to. Another thing that was really frustrating to me, and I'm not trying to just pick on Rajon Rondo here and go out of my way to do it or whatever, but the Lakers did actually, they were down I think 20 at one point in the third quarter, and they actually went on a nice little run there near the end of the third quarter and got within 10. Caruso hit a couple threes, and the Lakers were able to kind of get some momentum going, get the crowd back into it, and then Rondo got beat on a backdoor cut that allowed a layup to put it back to 12. And then I think on the very next possession, he had a layup, and he missed it, and then Dallas ended up hitting a three to push the lead back to 15. Just real momentum killers. So that was really, really frustrating. I can't wait for Avery Bradley to come back. Rondo, man, he's just so hit and miss. He's just so hit and miss. I mean, he had 4 points, 7 assists. I mean, he was 2 for 3 shooting, but just the defense, it just takes a massive drop off when you're talking about going from Avery Bradley to Rajon Rondo. Or, I mean, even Quinn Cook and Troy Daniels. I mean, Bradley's just such a much better defender, and the Lakers really need Bradley back for that reason alone. Having KCP basically, be the defensive presence on the perimeter on the second unit is a lot better than those other guys. So KCP Caruso pairing with the second unit defensively is much, much stronger. So hopefully Avery Bradley will be back soon. He's going to be reevaluated after the Lakers' upcoming road trip. So hopefully he's able to get back soon. They did clear him for basketball. I think they said for basketball progression. So I would imagine he'll do some 2-on-2, then some 3-on-3, 4-on-4, kind of like what we saw with Kyle Kuzma. So Lakers go on the road for 3 games, and I'll talk about those here to wrap things up. But basically the last thought I have on this Dallas game is the Lakers were due for a game like this, in all honesty. It was such a weird 10-game win streak because the majority of these games, they started slow and just kind of cranked it up when they really needed to in order to win. And it was against a lot of bad teams. Looking at this win streak, I mean, the Suns have really come crashing back to earth. Golden State's a bad team, but the Lakers, really didn't have any problems with them. But the Kings are kind of one of those middle-of-the-pack teams. The Hawks, Oklahoma City twice, Memphis, San Antonio, New Orleans, Washington. None of those are really good. I mean, they're all under 500. So, the Lakers have, probably developed just some bad habits that they understood that they could get away with. And so hopefully this game is really a wake-up call for them to, that their intensity needs to be a little more consistent. They can't just flip a switch against any team and just, get away with playing in spurts. The effort and the intensity level and the execution has to be a lot more consistent, especially if you're going to beat good teams. And the Lakers' December schedule is filled with better teams. It's going to be much more difficult than the November schedule was. And we saw that firsthand. The Lakers didn't execute for long stretches of the game, and the Mavericks made them pay for it. So, the Lakers were due for a wake-up call, and this is certainly a wake-up call. I mean, they got punched in the mouth today, and they didn't punch back. And hopefully, I've said this a few times now, but I don't like to judge teams based on, without context, I guess, but I don't like to just look at a team's loss or their losses on how you define them as a team. It's how they respond to losses. And so far, in the Lakers' 2 previous losses, the first loss against the Clippers, they answered with a 7-game win streak, and then the second loss against the Raptors, they responded with a 10-game win streak. So I'm curious to see how this team responds because they've got a really tough little 3-game road trip coming up. Really, the next 9 games are going to be very difficult because 8 are on the road. They go 3 on the road at Denver, at Utah, at Portland. In Portland, their record's not great right now, but they seem to have figured some stuff out here lately, and they won a few games in a row. So that's going to be a tough one, I think, especially coming out, right after. It's going to be the 3rd game in 4 days. So Denver and Utah, that's the all altitude back to back. That's going to be difficult. Denver's very good. I think Utah's really good, even though they got spanked today. That's a tough back to back, man. That might be one of the tougher back to backs any team's going to face this year because both teams are very good, and you're playing in higher altitude. So fatigue's already a problem, and then you got to deal with the altitude and the elevation. That's makes things even more difficult. So the Lakers, they're going to have to respond to this loss. They're going to have to respond and play well and really prove to everybody, because one of the critiques on them right now is that they struggle against good teams. They're 3-3 against teams that are over 500. And they're undefeated against teams that are under 500. So it's up to the Lakers to respond and really, silence those critics and show that they can beat anybody in the league, which, I think they certainly can. You can only play the games that are in front of you. So I'm not going to knock the Lakers for taking care of business against bad teams, because Lord knows if they were 500 in those games against teams under 500, people would be freaking out. And the criticism would be only more elevated. So, next few games are going to be very, very tough, but like I said, the Lakers go on the road for 3, get 1 game against Minnesota, and then they go and head out east for a 5-game road trip. So month of December is going to teach us a lot about this team, man. The schedule's pretty tough. I think they had 14 games, and I want to say 9 of them or 10 of them were against teams above 500 coming into the month. And the majority of the games are on the road. So it's going to be tough. Hopefully this is a wake-up call that the Lakers, just kind of learned that, hey, we can't keep, getting away with some of the bad habits that we've developed playing against these these bad teams. You're not going to get away with that stuff every night. They got away with it for a while playing some lesser competition, but now, you're going up against some of these big boys, and you're going to have to play better basketball. Plain and simple. The defense has slipped recently, so they need to get that back to, a high level. I don't know if they need Avery Bradley back to do that. That would certainly help. But they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to figure it out because these next couple games are going to be very tough. Denver, I believe, I don't think they play on Monday. We'll check that. But they just came off of a really tough loss against the Kings. No, looks like they got a couple days off before they play the Lakers. So they're coming off a loss. They're going to be at home. That's a tough place to play. And like I said, we're going to find out a lot about this team. Hopefully, they're able to at least get one of these next 2, because at Denver, at Utah is a very tough back-to-back. And hopefully they respond to this loss. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, is to see how this team reacts to this loss. Don't let it snowball. You got to just bounce back. You got to bounce back and play better. And I think, with LeBron leading the way and AD, those guys really hold each other accountable. They hold the team accountable. And, I think they've got good leaders in that locker room. And I think they're still a well-coached team. And I think they'll bounce back and they'll be just fine. But we'll see. We'll see. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to let this snowball and really get out of hand and, start a losing streak. That's the last thing you want. And I don't want to, I'm tired of hearing about, the Lakers are only winning games because of playing teams under 500 and whatnot. Let's beat some good teams and shut those people up, because I'm really just getting sick and tired of hearing how a team that was 17-2 is only that way because they're beating bad teams. That's just how the schedule lined up, and they're playing who they can. But to act like this Laker team is incapable of beating good teams is stupid. For lack of a better term, it's just stupid. So, all right, Lakers, just respond. Let's bounce back and let's get back in the win column, and all will be right in the world. So, all right. Again, guys, Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to UCast Studios and Lakers Outsiders on YouTube, on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, all those major podcast platforms. And be sure to get all of our content on LakersOutsiders.com. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Lakers Outsiders, and like us on Facebook as well. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Gary Kester. Spelling on that is GaryKester. You might get some Titans tweets in there. It's getting down to the last few games of the NFL season, so I apologize if you don't want to see that. I try and keep it mostly about the Lakers, but I'm a big Titans fan as well, so I talk about that quite a bit. But anyways, Lakers fall to 17-3 on the year. We're basically a quarter of the way through, and they're 17-3. I mean, as frustrating as this loss was, I'll take 17 out of 20 every single day of the week. So I know they're not going to win 17 out of every 20, but this team is fine. Just got to bounce back. Let's get a couple wins on the road. And, let's right the ship and let's get back on the winning track. So, frustrating loss for sure, but I think the Lakers will be okay. So, again, thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to, subscribe and like the video and all that fun stuff. And I will talk to you guys next week, hopefully talking about some more Laker wins. And hopefully we're talking about how this team has bounced back from a loss to Dallas and they've started a new win streak. That'd be nice. So fingers crossed. But until then, guys, again, thank you so much for listening. And I will catch you guys next time. So for the Lakers Outsiders, this is Gary Kester signing off.